This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets bats combined for 12 hits. They score runs in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th innings, and they can run away from the Colorado Rockies in the second game of this series by a final score of 8-1. Welcome in to the Mets Postcast here, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And tonight, a comfortable one for the New York Mets, a final score that was not a 1 or 2 run game, which has become somewhat commonplace for the Mets so far this season. A comfortable 7-run victory in which the offense had a nice day at the office, was free and easy in the late stages with the bullpen usage. It was very nice to have this night on the second game of this series against Colorado. And the offense and the production from the bottom part of it is what we'll be talking about to start tonight's postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I'll tell you one thing that was nice about this baseball game, and we'll get into Clay Holmes a little bit more in just a little bit, but it was very nice for us, the Mets, to be on the good end of the team not hitting with runners in scoring position. Colorado Rockies, 8 men left on base tonight, 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Normally, those are numbers that I thought were reserved for the New York Mets. I didn't think, even though the Colorado Rockies only have 12 wins, I wasn't sure that other teams could have bad nights with runners in scoring position the way the Mets do on a seemingly regular basis. Tonight, the shoe was on the other foot, and it was a good night for Clay Holmes working in and out of trouble. The Mets didn't fare much better. 7 men left on base, 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position, but they hit a bunch of home runs. That was the big story in this game. And 3 home runs tonight in total. McNeil, Mauricio, Jared Young. And I don't know if you're noticing this. I'm certainly noticing it. Perhaps this is stuff to keep an eye on before stuff to keep an eye on. Mets are starting to hit a lot more home runs, or at least it feels that way. It feels like the power is starting to come, and it feels like it's starting to come in bunches. And it started really back the last time they played the Colorado Rockies, in which they hit 3 home runs 3 consecutive days. That then carried into the 4-game set out in LA against the Dodgers, hit some more home runs there. Pete, obviously, the big bopper. And now leading into this series, a night like tonight, where you hit 3 home runs and you have home runs from some unlikely sources. Gary, always helping out the postcast, even though he doesn't know it, with some really nice insights, that those 3 guys combined coming into tonight, 4 home runs, 3 home runs from the 3 of them tonight. So just a nice power surge for this team. Yeah, Francisco Lindor hitting well in the leadoff spot tonight. 3 for 5, a couple of stolen bases. The easiest stolen bases you're going to see somebody on the Mets get this season. I mean, Francisco Lindor just had a complete lock on German Marquez in his move to home plate. Just he knew when Marquez was going to home, and he knew when Marquez was going to throw over. I mean, you can't make it look any easier. It can't be any easier than Lindor stealing those 2 bases tonight. And I think for all of us, it was good to see him have the big pinch hit the night before, but we wanted to see how he would react to playing a full game, having to run and field and be out there for 9 innings. Although good on Carlos Mendoza to not have him play the full 9 tonight. Big lead late. You could take him out of the game. That's why it's nice to have Acuna still on this team. It's nice to have Mauricio, who can move around and play some different positions. And you also have Beatty, who, if you want, he stayed at second tonight, can very easily go play third, and you can move those guys around. So good to see Carlos be able to get Lindor off the field. But yeah, the toe looked good. Definitely was laboring it. He definitely wasn't putting it into top gear going to first base, was managing it well. And listen, he's a vet. He's going to know when to push, when not to push, when he reads the situation. I've got to make something happen here, so I'm going to push a little bit and deal with a little bit more pain. So he did a nice job, I think, of monitoring it tonight. But the story of this game, the bottom of the lineup for the New York Mets, 6 through 9, Luis Torrens, Brett Beatty, Jared Young, Ronnie Mauricio, every single one of those guys with a hit, at least one hit in this game. And you look at Luis Torrens with 2 RBIs. You look at Jared Young with an RBI in the home run. You look at Ronnie Mauricio. Didn't we say this at the end of last night's postcast? We're hoping that double was the thing that he needed to unlock him, to let his shoulders rest a little bit, not to put too much pressure on himself, to just be able to go out there and just play baseball and not overthink it. Just go out there and play and just be the athlete and the player that we know he to be. And tonight we saw that with a 110-mile-an-hour home run, had another hit as well, drove in the RBI. The bottom part of the lineup really doing a nice job tonight. When you have a deep lineup like the Mets did tonight, when you get contributions from 6 through 9, you're going to be able to beat anybody. I don't care who you play on the other side. I don't care who's on the mound for the other team. If you're getting production from the bottom part of your lineup, it's going to be a good night for you. And the Mets got that production. Those 4 guys combined for 5 hits. Those 4 guys combined for 4 of the Mets runs. Half of the Mets runs in this game came from that part of the lineup. So shout out to Jared Young, opposite field home run. Shout out to Ronnie Mauricio with a multi-hit game. And the broadcast picked up on this, that he and Lindor had a little bit of a conversation right before he hit the home run. It was the half inning prior when he was going out there for defense. And I don't know what was said. Gary also mentioned it. You don't know what that conversation was, but it was telling that he has that conversation. And then he goes right out there in his next at bat. And he goes yard for his first home run this season. But yeah, just a great night across the board. Brendan Nimmo, after an 0 for last night, he goes 2 for 4. He drives in 2 runs. Jeff McNeil with a home run. It's what you're supposed to do at Coors Field. You are supposed to put up crooked numbers, and you're supposed to put up a lot of crooked numbers. And the Mets did that tonight, scoring in 4 consecutive innings, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And 2 of those innings, they scored multiple runs, 2 in the 5th and 3 in the 7th. Just was really nice to see. And yes, I see a bunch of people in the chat talking about Luis Torrens, 1 for 4 tonight with 2 RBIs. Every day that he goes out there and he contributes and he drives and runs, it is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Carlos Mendoza to deploy his 2 catchers, because Torrens is certainly warranting more playing time. He is certainly deserving of being in there when he continues to produce the way that he is producing. Let's talk about Clay Holmes' night tonight. Let's talk about what is on your mind here after the Mets pick up their 41st win of the season and the other stuff that we are keeping an eye on coming out of this one. So we will get to all of that here on the other side. NBA playoffs in full swing. NBA Finals Game 2 right around the corner. And every night in the NBA playoffs, NBA Finals delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments like Tyrese Halliburton knocking down a game winner. Whether it is a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there has never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. Player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You're new to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on the Mets Postcast, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. We always love hearing from you here on the Mets Postcast. Max says, I'm going to look foolish saying this considering the home run, but I thought it was insane running McNeil out at center field at Coors. Love the home run, though. It was interesting that in this ballpark, in this configuration, that the Mets felt this was a nice chance to get Jeff McNeil in center field. Now, they win the baseball game. He doesn't make any weird plays out there, so it was fine. But a team that prides itself on defense, David Stern's a GM that I think to a large part builds his team around defense. He loves defensive guys. One of the first moves he made when he got here was the trade of Tyrone Taylor. And what did everybody say? You're getting great defender. Harrison Bader was brought in here. Why? Great defender. Jose Siri, great defender. I mean, that's the backbone of how David Stearns likes to build a team. And we know that Jeff McNeil can play center field, and we know how the Mets want to deploy him in center field. They want to use him when they have a ground ball pitcher. But yeah, at Coors, how many ground balls are you going to get, even if you have a ground ball pitcher like Clay Holmes on the mound? Speaking of Clay, was a interesting night tonight for Holmes. The final stat line looks really good. The 1 earned run over the 6 innings, the 6 strikeouts, lowering the season ERA to 2.95, picking up his 7th win of the season, moving now to 7-3. And what more can you say? Every statistic that you look at for this New York Mets pitching staff, the starting rotation in particular, it's just glowing. I mean, it is rave reviews across the board. Best starting rotation, ERA in all of baseball. They have 5 starters who have made 12 or more starts. I mean, they have been absolutely essential, the backbone of this team, the strength of this squad when we thought it was going to be a weakness. And they have just been one of the best groups, if not the best group. And statistically, at least in ERA, they have been the best group in all of baseball. Holmes did allow 9 hits tonight. He certainly had to work out of trouble, had 1 clean inning tonight, had base traffic all over the place. I mean, the Rockies left 8 men on base in this one and had multiple chances to take the lead in this one early and put the Mets on the back foot. They did not. The Mets were able to never trail in this game. They were able to get out to that early 1-0 lead. The one mistake, the slider to Ryan McMahon that he deposited in the outfield seats to make it 1-1. Mets immediately bounced back, and that's when they went on their run of 4 straight innings, scoring runs. The slider, a main part of what Clay Holmes did tonight. Last night, talked a lot about how Kodai Senga came in with a game plan, and that game plan was we're going to throw a lot of fastballs, and we're going to throw a lot of the ghost forks. We're not going to throw a lot of our other stuff. We'll mix it in. We'll throw a little cutter here, cutter there, mix in a slider here, slider there. Our bread and butter, the fastball and the ghost fork. That is how we are going to operate tonight. And then tonight, Clay Holmes goes out there, and what does he do? It's sweeper, it's slider. The final numbers, I need to go back and check, but at one point during the game, it was over 60% of his pitches were either the sweeper or the slider. You don't do that on accident. That is a game plan. This is how we want to operate tonight. And for the most part, those sweepers and sliders had the Rockies on the back foot. The jams that that Holmes found himself in, the Rockies and their offense promptly worked themselves out of, and he got some key strikeouts in some key spots. So you just love to watch this Mets pitching staff just do their craft because they're always tinkering. They're always making adjustments. And now, after this start tonight, Clay Holmes has now thrown more innings than he's ever thrown in a season. And this is a really nice transition into stuff to keep an eye on because I know Gary and Keith didn't make a big deal out of it, but I will because I do think it is something to monitor. It is something to keep an eye on. He has thrown more innings than he's ever thrown in his big league career. And it's June 7th. And if he makes every single start this season, we're talking about somebody who's going to jump from maxing out at 70 innings in a season to being anywhere near the 150 to 180 mark by the end of the season. That is a massive workload jump. That's not to say that I don't think Clay Holmes can do it. I think he can. It's just, I don't know if the Mets want to make that bet. And the 6-man rotation can certainly help with that. That extra day off can limit the number of starts that Clay is going to make, so can push him more towards maybe the 130 to 150 range. But this is something to monitor. He is not showing any signs right now of hitting a wall. He is not showing any signs right now of fatigue. But we talk about the bullpen being overworked. And I mean this with the utmost respect because of how good of a job he's doing. Clay Holmes is overworked. Hasn't missed a start yet this season. Has given the team more length than I think we expected him to give in this part of the season. I think we expected 6-7 inning outings more towards the second half, more towards August and September as he kind of get more comfortable. And he's just doing it early in the season. And he has just taken to this starting role and he has hit the ground running. There has not been any setbacks. I mean, he's just been really, really good. He's starting to allow a little bit more home runs. And I thought the first couple of home runs that he allowed, I believe it was a rain-fueled start. Clay's had a bunch of them this season where the rain has been there when he's been on the mound. He gave up a couple home runs in the rain a couple outings ago, and I kind of wrote them off as it was rainy, the elements were weird. You can't say that all the home runs are now a problem. I don't want to say they're a problem, but something to keep an eye on. It's why we make this the segment to close out the podcast now, is to talk about these things that are just sticking in my brain that we just want to monitor here moving forward. And so the home runs have become something for Clay Holmes. And yeah, it's Coors Field, it's thin air, so you get a ball up in the air, it's going to go. But he has been giving up home runs at a little bit more of a serious clip than he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, he started the year with an 0-for in his first, I think it was like 6 or 8 starts. He'd been excellent at limiting the home run ball, non-existent. Now it's starting to be there. So the innings, I do think, are a little bit of a concern. I'll believe it when I see it that he's going to make every single start this season and throw 150 plus innings. I would be surprised in the most positive way of all time for him to do that. And the home runs, an issue as well. Ronnie Mauricio, for everyone who said Ronnie Mauricio wasn't ready for the big league level, that he didn't need to be starting, needed more Brett Beatty, needed more Luis Angel Acuna. Listen, there's nobody who wants to see Luis Angel Acuna out there more than me with what I think he can provide to this team. But That double last night for Mauricio really sparked him. A 2-hit game tonight. You're seeing what he can do defensively over at third. You're seeing the bat speed. You're seeing how he can make some really hard contact. He's a player, and it is so nice for the Mets to have options in the wake of Mark Vientos going down. It is nice to be able to turn to Brett Baty, Acuna, Mauricio, and feel like any one of those guys can go out there and you're putting your best foot forward and you're putting a guy out there that can help give you a chance to win. So just a really nice night for Ronnie Mauricio, and I think a night that he needed. And it was nice. I mean, the double last night into the 2 hits in this game, 3 straight at bats that he got on base. So just a nice night for the New York Mets across the board. Didn't have to use a ton of their high leverage arms, got to sit and rest. Guys like Reed Garrett, like Oscar Brazaban, like Edwin Diaz, to use Jose Butto and Castillo. Boy, what more can you say about Jose Castillo, who, yes, if you look at his actual numbers, he's got a 5.4 ERA, but all of that is basically from his time in Arizona. He's been excellent since coming here to New York, and in the wake of AJ Minter going down, in the wake of Danny Young going down, this team has needed a lefty out there in that bullpen. And when they brought over Castillo, you look at what the numbers were from Arizona. You looked at they were willing to just get rid of him when they were having bullpen problems themselves. And you worried, is this really the guy? Why? Why should we ever doubt the Mets and the pitching lab and their pitching staff, their coaching staff to be able to just get more out of everybody? Why do we doubt them at this point? Because Castillo has come over and he's been a guy that you're not afraid if that bullpen door swings open and he's brought into a high leverage spot because he has been just so good for this team since coming over here. The Mets pick up their 41st win of the season, and what a great night for the Mets because they win, Phillies lose, Braves lose, the Nats also lost. I think the only other team that won in the National League East tonight was the Marlins, so you pick up a full game on everybody else in this division. You push Philly, that's really the only team that is within striking distance. The Nationals are the next team behind. I think they're now 10.5 after the Mets win tonight. So Philly's really the only team in striking distance. They lost. Harper just got placed on the IL. So they are trying to find it while the Mets just keep on rolling. And they now will be going for the sweep tomorrow. They will be going for the series sweep, the season series sweep, I should say, of the Colorado Rockies tomorrow in this finale. The Colorado Rockies have 12 wins this season. None of them have come against the New York Mets, and the Mets hopefully will keep that going tomorrow. And a nice chance, tough environment, but a nice chance for Tyler McGill to get another good start here in June. His spot in the rotation is certainly up in the air with the health of this team right around the corner. Sean Manaea on rehab assignments, Frankie Montas on rehab assignments. So you've got a pitching staff that's starting to get healthy, and they're going to have to figure out what they are going to do here. So every Tyler McGill start, we look at it just a little bit closer. And that means we'll be right back here the moment that game is done tomorrow to break everything down here on the Mets Postcast. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we go live here for the Mets Postcast on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Those of you who listen to the Postcast in the podcast feed, come on out and join us after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. You can share your thoughts and you can contribute to the stuff to keep an eye on. Think of this as your hangout spot the moment that the Mets are done. Love to interact with you after the Mets pick up a victory. 41-24, 17 games above 500 for the New York Mets, the new high mark for them this season. They just keep on rolling, and we nitpick and we talk about the things that they do wrong and the things that maybe keep them from being a World Series contender in that upper echelon of baseball teams. But the one thing that they do really well so far this season, at least against this Colorado team, is they're beating the teams that they should beat. And they did it again tonight by defeating the Colorado Rockies. That's going to do it for us here on the Mets Postcast. We're back tomorrow to recap the finale of this series. Have a good one, Mets fans.